Okay, Queen, wait a minute.
Am I audible po?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's an honor and a privilege to introduce to you our speaker for tonight. He serves as the director of the Global Center for Adventist Muslim Relations at the headquarters of the General Conference of the Seventh-day Adventists. He holds a Doctor of Ministry from Andrews University with a concentration in missiology, an assimilation model focusing on the concept of house church as an assimilation model for those from Muslim background. He is currently pursuing his PhD from Oxford Center for Mission Studies in England, United Kingdom, with focus on presentation of the Trinity for non-Christians. He began his career in 1982 as an accountant for Pakistan Union after having studied in Pakistan Adventist Seminary. Later, he completed his bachelor's in accountancy from Adventist University of the Philippines and received a gold medal from President Cory Aquino of the Philippines for being the most outstanding international student in 1988. He earned Master of Business Administration degree from De La Salle University in the Philippines and spent over 20 years as a business analyst, accountant, lecturer, and chair of the Department of Business in Pakistan, Philippines, and in England. His career changed in 2003 when he was working as an accountant in London, but was called to ministry by the South England Conference. He was successful in establishing a ministry to Asians and planted the first Adventist Asian Church in London, United Kingdom. He was appointed to work with the General Conference Global Center for Adventist Muslim Relations in 2010 as the Associate Director, and from 2015, he was appointed to be the director of this center. He now lectures to thought leaders, theologians, missiologists, church administrators, and professionals on building bridges of understanding and approaches to people from a Muslim worldview and Asian background. He has authored 4 books on understanding the worldviews of people from Muslim background. One of them being, What Does the Quran Say About the Bible? He and his wife of 35 years have 3 daughters and 1 son, all studying at the universities in Europe. Please help me welcome Dr. Petras Bahadur. Please let us now give him the time.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Let me begin with the greeting of Jesus Christ, which is Assalamu alaikum. Because Jesus, when he came to his disciples, he said, Shalom alaikum, which is peace be unto you, which translated into Arabic means Assalamu alaikum. So I hope all of you are doing well this evening. What a powerful sermon we had from Dr. Paco. Yeah, he's a good friend and a brother. We are happy to work together in many different areas. But tonight, I want to thank Dr. Ron for his wonderful love and friendship. We both met together not long ago, a couple of months ago in Malaysia. And since then, we have communicated with each other. And tonight, I feel honored to be with all of you, youth, because all my children are youth. I have 4 children. All of them are in their 20s. And I really appreciate and love young people, not only my children, but all the young people within the church, because you are the future of the Seventh Adventist people and generation. So tonight, what am I going to be talking to you about? I'm going to get into my topic very fast so that you don't miss what I'm going to be speaking about. Tonight, the topic I've chosen, and I'm going to share it on the screen here, is actually given to us by Dr. Ron, our friend here, and I really appreciate the topic. The topic is what stops Adventist youth from relating to Muslim youth. So tonight we're going to go through this topic of what stops our Adventist youth from reaching out to our Muslim youth. And so the question is, what stops? Well, really, if we talk about it together, and if this was a class and I was asking you, you might give pointers like, we think it is not possible to reach. So because it's not possible to reach them, so that's what stops me, you might say. Or you might say, our theological understanding. Well, I really like that answer, because it is our theological understanding that has a major impact on the reason why we don't want to reach out. But tonight, I'm going to be walking through simply 9 questions with you. And I'm going to ask you those questions, and your responses will tell me what stops us from reaching out to Muslim youth. So tonight, then, we're going to go through these 9 questions, which if you answer me, that will tell me what is the issue. Number 1, do you know that God has a plan for Muslims? So if you say yes, good. If you say no, I don't know, then I'm going to ask you the next question. And the question is, where in the Bible is a clear plan for Muslims? You might say, well, I know Matthew 28 verse 19 is very clear. Go ye therefore to all the nations, even the nations of Islam. Well, I would say, wow, that's really good. Actually, it's not bad. That's a good one, because that refers to the people and the nations of our Muslim brothers and sisters. But could you give me another, probably a specific plan of God for the children of Ishmael, or rather our Muslim brothers and sisters? You might say, well, Jesus said, he said something like this: when this gospel is preached in all the world, then the end will come. So that includes the children of Ishmael and our Muslim brothers and sisters. Yes, that's a good one. And then also Jesus said, well, first starting in Jerusalem, then Judea, then Samaria, then the ends of the world. Well, that's a good one as well. But tonight, in order to answer this question, I want to say that a lot of us, not only as youth, but a lot of us as Adventists, do not know that God has a plan specifically for Muslims. In fact, if you go to certain parts of the world today, there are many Adventists who tell me, we don't like this ministry and we don't want to reach out, because the thing is, they're so difficult and they're so hard. And really, to tell you the truth, I was preaching last Sabbath in a church where a young girl was going to translate for me. And I told her, let me tell you my topic just before you translate for me. So we were back in the pastor's office, and I was getting ready to go up, and I tell her that I'm going to speak about how to relate to our Muslim brothers and sisters. And she said, oh, Pastor, I don't want to translate for you. I said, why? And she says, because I don't like Muslims, and I don't want a sermon that will make me like them either. I said, well, I'm going to be asking today, does the church know that God has a plan for Muslims? And I said, okay, listen to what I have to say here in the pastor's office. And if you like it, we'll go up. If you don't like it, we will choose another translator. So I showed her my PowerPoint and I said, have a look at this. And after she had a look at it, she says to me, Pastor, you're the best teacher. You have changed my mind. In 5 minutes, I want to go and translate for you. So she went up, she translated for me. It was a wonderful time. And she became a good, like I would say, a colleague and disciple. And I can tell you from last week, she's been texting me ever since that time. So let me share with you, does God have a plan for our Muslim brothers and sisters? I want to share with you a clear verse in the Bible about the children of Ishmael. I'm going to share with you a clear verse in the Bible about our Muslim brothers and sisters and God's plan for them. Here it is. AMR ministry is not based, AMR is Adventist Muslim Relations. Okay, so don't confuse it with AWR, but AWR is our friends, AWR and AMR, Adventist Muslim Relations. This ministry is based on God's vision. And where is God's vision? It's in the Bible about Muslims. So look at this one. It's found in Isaiah 60, verse 7. Come with me as we look at this verse specifically for the children of Ishmael. It says like this: all the flocks of Kedar shall be gathered together to you. The rams of Nebaioth shall minister unto you. They shall ascend with acceptance on my altar, and I will glorify the house of my glory. What is God saying here? This is God speaking to the children of Israel. And God is saying, all the flocks of Kedar shall be gathered, and the rams of Nebaioth shall minister unto you. They will ascend with acceptance on my altar, and I will glorify the house of my glory. So God is saying, when Kedar will come, and when Nebaioth will come, then I will glorify my house. So here, according to this verse here, who are these people that are coming? And if they are coming, God is going to be happy with that. And then God is going to glorify his church, his house. Amazing. Let's find out who is Kedar and who is Nebaioth in order to understand what is God saying here. This is a very, very important verse in the Bible with regards to the concept of I will go. Because this verse, this whole chapter begins in Isaiah 60 like this. The chapter begins like this. It says in Isaiah 60, verse 1, it says, arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord has risen among you. The Gentiles will hear your voice, and they will come. So this chapter is number one chapter in the Old Testament regarding the concept of I will go. And in this concept of I will go, few verses down, starting from 1, 2, 3, and then down there in verse number 7, just few verses later, God says, all the flocks of Kedar shall be gathered to you. The rams of Nebaioth shall minister unto you. They shall ascend with acceptance on my altar, God says, and I will glorify the house of my glory. God is going to do something unbelievable. And what is that unbelievable thing that God is going to do? Well, God is waiting for the time when Kedar will come, and when Nebaioth will come, then God will accomplish his work, and then God will say, now I glorify my church. Who are these people? Kedar and Nebaioth. If I was in your place, I will say, Pastor, tell us who these people are, because this verse is becoming interesting for me. If we go to Genesis, we can find the answer. But in order to go to Genesis, I need to ask you two more questions. Question number 1, if you can give me the answer, then your theology is number 1. And the answer to this question, you give it to yourself. The first question, how many wives did Abraham have? If you can give me the answer to that, then you're theologically very tuned into this message. How many wives did Abraham have? 1 wife or 2 wives or 4 or 5 wives? How many wives did he have? Question number 2, if you can answer this question, you're theologically and missiologically in tune with the gospel of the Bible. The question number 2 is, how many sons did Abraham have? If you can answer that question, you're theologically in tune with I will go. So then, what did you say about how many wives did Abraham have? Many of you said 1. Okay, I heard some of you say 1. Because you don't believe that Hagar was his wife, so you said Abraham had only 1 wife, her name was Sarah. Hagar was not a wife, so, or some of you said 2 because you said, okay, Hagar is a wife, so that's fine. Good. The second question was, how many sons did Abraham have? And many of you said, in fact, 90% of you probably said 2 sons. The first son being Ishmael, and the second son being Isaac. Let's go to Genesis 25 and find the answers to these 2 questions. How many wives did Abraham have? And how many sons did Abraham have? Genesis 25, and we're going to look at verses 1 onwards. It says in verse 1 actually, it says in verse number 1, then Abraham married another wife, her name was Keturah. And then she bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. How many sons are born to Abraham? 6 more sons are born to Abraham, to his third wife, Keturah. Do I have a message for you today? Well, do we know what is God's plan for the children of Ishmael? What is God's plan for the Muslims? Well, if I do not know, this is what God is saying in the Bible, and this is God's vision for the children of Ishmael, I would not be interested to reach out to anyone. Well, in Genesis 25:13, we find the answer to who is Kedar and who is Nebaioth. In verse number 13, it says, the firstborn of Ishmael was Nebaioth, then Kedar. So who is Kedar and who is Nebaioth? These are the sons of Ishmael. So coming back to Isaiah 60, verse number 7, where it says, all the flocks of Kedar are coming into the house of God. All the rams of Nebaioth shall minister in my house, in God's house. The question is, Kedar and Nebaioth is coming into the house of God? Yes, absolutely. Who is Kedar and who is Nebaioth? These are the children of Ishmael. Remember, this is Isaiah, 500 to 700 years before Jesus coming. And then Jesus comes, and 2,000 years have now passed. Where are the children of Ishmael in God's house? Where are they? Which means this verse has still not been fulfilled, but I can tell you one thing, this verse will be fulfilled before the second coming of Jesus. Because when God says they will come, then they will come. Because it does not say some of them will come. It says all the flocks of Kedar will be gathered to me. Which means a lot of people from the children of Ishmael will come into the house of God. And God says, when they ascend with acceptance on my altar, I will glorify the house of my glory. God is looking forward to a time when the children of Ishmael will come in the house of God. Then God will bless his house. He will glorify his house, and he will know that the work is done. Now, if you know this is what God's plan is, why would you not be interested in Muslim ministry? You will be. But when we do not know these verses even exist in the Bible, why would I want to do this ministry? Why would I want to even reach out to the person beside me? I would not want to. But I hope that this vision from the Bible helps us understand, number one thing that stops us is because we do not know what is God's plan for them. And then number two, let's look at number two then. Do you know what is the connection of Adventists to Muslims? What is our connection to them? Or rather, there is no connection. Well, let's look into the Bible. In Bible, it says this. In the Bible, it says, here are they who keep the commandments of God and have the faith of Jesus. In other words, the Bible is telling us the last special movement of God before the end of time. And that movement of God has two characteristics. Characteristic number one, they keep the commandments of God. And characteristic number two, they have the faith of Jesus. Now, when we look into the Quran, which is the Islamic holy book, it says like this. In Quran chapter number 3, verse number 110, it says, if only the people of the book had faith. Who are people of the book according to the Quran? These are Christians. If only the Christians had faith, it were best for them. But among them are some who have faith. So the Quran is actually saying among the Christians, there is a group that has faith, but most of them are perverted sinners. According to the Quran, most Christians are sinners. Why? Because they worship idols in some churches, they eat pork, they drink wine, and do all kinds of things that are different than what a person should do who is a clean, holy person. According to Muslims, most Christians are not believers because they don't worship the way they should. They are not clean. But the Quran says among them are some, and the word some means few, and few means remnant. So there is a remnant among the Christians that have the true faith, but most of the Christians, they are not true. See, there is a group among the Christians who do not eat pork. Do you know that group of Christians who don't eat pork? Number two, there is a group of people who do not drink alcohol or do not promote the drinking of alcohol among the Christians, so they can't be called sinners. There is a group that does not worship the wrong day like most other Christians do, so they are not sinners because they're not breaking the commandment of God. And then they also don't go into big cathedrals and churches and worship idols or images. There is a group I know. Do you know that group? Well, the Quran says there is a group among the Christians that does not do those things. They are some who have the true faith. And the Bible says, here are the people who keep the commandments of God and have the faith of Jesus. Both the Bible and the Quran speak about one group of people who have the right characteristics. And really, if you look at the different faiths that have come on this world, we find out there are only two faiths that claim the following. Number one, it is the Adventists who claim the spiritual lineage of truth from Abraham through Jesus to disciples and to present. The truth has always been kept alive. But there are people within the truth who have spoiled the truth of God. But there are some who have been faithful to it. So we have the heritage of truth from Abraham and Isaac. There is one more group that claims the same thing, that they got the truth from Abraham, and that is Muslims. Muslims claim that they are the spiritual lineage from Abraham. They claim that we have the heritage of truth from Ishmael. One group claims from Isaac, the other group claims from Ishmael. One group claims spiritual lineage from Abraham. The other group also claims the spiritual remnant position. Both are saying we are the true people for the world. Every religion needs to follow this. Adventists are closest to Muslims in the claims that we make. Among the Christians, most eat pork, most drink wine, most go to church on Sunday. But there is one group that you and I know that don't do that. We cannot be called, according to the Quran, sinners. Third question. Do you believe that we can reach our Muslim brothers and sisters? Do you believe that? I want to tell you something very interesting. It has been very difficult. That is true. And when you're saying it is difficult, well, that is the story we have heard. But I want to say to you that today the Muslim world is prepared. Today, millions of Muslim young people are questioning their own faith. This was never the case for 1400 years. But this is a beautiful, unbelievable thing that is happening in the world today, that people are beginning to question the status quo. And they're saying, we want answers to the questions. And who has the answers? The true people of the book. Millions are becoming atheists. Millions. Every year, over more than 1 million, 2 million in Iran become atheists. Why? Because there is no Adventist near them who can help. You see, the problem that we have had, why Islam has not been able to find an answer, is because we as Adventists, we are trying to present Christianity. And if you keep presenting Christianity, Muslims don't want Christianity, but they need Adventism. Because if you say, I'm a Christian, they will ask you, oh, so you eat pork? You will say, no, I don't eat pork. Then they'll say, how come you're a Christian? Christians eat pork. Then you say, then they ask you, do you drink wine? No, I don't drink wine. Well, then how come you're a Christian? Because Christians, they drink wine. Do you go to church on Sunday? No, I don't go to church on Sunday. So then how come you're a Christian? My brother, you are actually a Muslim. Why? Because we do not know how to present ourselves. But if we said, well, let me tell you one thing. We are Adventists. And let me tell you what Adventists are. That brings a story, or that makes a beautiful, beautiful discussion. The world does not need a religion. The world needs Christ. Many of us think that when I'm telling my friends to come, I'm asking them to become Christians. I don't ask people to become Christians. I ask them to become followers of Jesus Christ. Religion is a cognitive thing, but Jesus Christ is a personal being with whom we can have a relationship. We don't have a relationship with cognitive things. We don't have a relationship with ideas. We have a relationship with person. This is why Let us not bring people to an ideology or fundamentals or religion or denomination. Let us bring them to the feet of Jesus Christ, the greatest teacher ever, the greatest example ever. So, do you believe that we can reach out to Muslims? Yes, of course, because only Adventism has the answer. Who are the remnant? When Israel started, they had the right identity, they had the right behavior. Israel was children of Abraham, they believed in God. That was their identity. Behavior, they followed the scriptures of the Old Testament, they followed the haram and halal, which is clean and unclean foods. They kept the Sabbath, and circumcision was a way of showing their behavior that they were God's chosen people. When Jesus came on the line, Christians became part of God's people. Instead of being children of Abraham, all the children of God, everyone can be part of God's family, not just children of Abraham, but the children of God. They believed in God in the Old Testament, but in the New Testament, Christianity, their identity is in God and Jesus. So they have a new identity. But what about the behavior? The behavior continues. The Old Testament behavior, the Old Testament scripture continues. The New Testament also comes in line now. Halal, which is clean and unclean foods, that continues. Sabbath continues. But circumcision is changed to baptism. But within 400 years, Christianity changed everything. They didn't care about the Bible. There was no Bible with the Christians. They didn't care about clean and unclean. They started eating pork, drinking wine, eating whatever they wanted, and started going to church on Sunday rather than Sabbath. In the 4th century, everything was changed. And even baptism was changed from immersion to sprinkling. Everything in Christianity changed. So Christianity does not seem to have an answer for the world in that way. And then, of course, in the time when Christianity was going down, in 538, when Pope sat on the throne to be not only the Pope of the church, but also the king of Europe, let's say, or Rome, we see in 32 years after that, 538 down, and in 32 years later, 570, a prophet is born, or somebody is born in Mecca who claims to be the prophet of Islam. And he says, Islam is the answer for the world. We are the children of Abraham. We believe in circumcision. We believe in Old Testament, but Quran as well. We believe in the clean and unclean. We believe in the Sabbath, and we believe in circumcision. So part of the message was same as original Christianity, but a lot of it was taken back to the Abrahamic system from which we had already come apart. So Islam did try to bring an answer, but Islam is not the answer, because God has a final movement to bring to the world. The final movement that will bring a message for the whole world, and that is the Adventist movement that has the right identity and has the right behavior, because Adventists are the ones who believe that we are children of God. They say that we believe in Jesus. They believe in Old Testament, New Testament. They believe in haram and halal, clean and unclean foods. They believe in the Sabbath. They believe in baptism by immersion. Everything that was original Christianity, Adventists have restored back to its original position. This is why we as Adventists are the only ones who have the truth for the world right now. So once a person knows this, then the message becomes easier. Today, I don't know how much time I have, so I'm going to probably do one or two, and then probably we'll see how the time goes. So question then for you is, do you know that the reason why we are not able to reach out and make friends with our Muslim brothers and sisters is because our methods don't seem to work and we become discouraged. In fact, do you know that our methods to Muslims are all upside down? And I'm going to say almost all are upside down. And let me share with you how do I say that our methods are all upside down. When you do ministry to almost any person in this world, it's a different way. But when you do ministry to Muslims, it's a different way. Totally different. Let me share with you what it means. Well, actually, this could apply to other religions as well. Hinduism, Buddhism, Judaism as well. But let me share with you the part on Islamic side. Number one, when we try to go to people, especially Muslims, what do we go with? Number one, we go with Christian knowledge. Our base is Christian biblical studies. Our base is the biblical theology. Our base is what we have learned in the Bible. That's our base. We go with Christian knowledge. But when we go to our Muslim brothers and sisters, that knowledge will not go very far. I was already a pastor and I was trying to make friends and I was not getting anywhere. Why? Because the first question was, tell us, explain to us the Trinity. And I tried everything I could from the Christian perspective, and it was so hard for them to grasp it. So I made it my model that I want to understand this concept of Trinity. And in fact, my PhD that I'm doing right now, I am doing it on the topic of Trinity, how to explain Trinity to non-Christians. And this has been my lifelong search to understand how to make it sensible. So I realize one thing, when you go to them, don't go with the Christian knowledge that you have gained, but you need to go, before going, you need to understand what is Islam. You need Islam knowledge. And by the way, Dr. Ron, when I come in the future and we organize a training for our young people, it can only take me one or two sessions and I can teach you what you need to know on Islam knowledge, which will help you in being able to relate to your M friends. So number one, Christian knowledge is not going to help us. It is good for reaching out to Christians, but Christian knowledge is our background. But what you need to go to your Muslim friends is Islamic knowledge. What is Islam? Who is Muhammad? What is the Quran? These are the questions you need to answer. And then, of course, you can go to your Muslim friend. Number two, you don't go with the Bible knowledge. You don't go with Christian knowledge. You don't go with the Bible knowledge. Instead of going with the Bible knowledge, because no matter what you say about the Bible, Muslims will say, well, but I don't believe in the Bible. Number two, I believe the Bible is corrupted. Number three, you Christians have changed the Bible yourself. All kinds of questions. But if you use the Bible, you will find those questions. But when I go to Muslim friend, I will not use the Bible first. I will use the Quran first. What does the Quran say about these things? So begin with the Quran. And of course, you don't know what the Quran says. You've never seen the Quran. So when Dr. Ron and we organize another program, I will show you what the Quran says about Jesus. Then number three thing, when we go to our Muslim friends, we say, let me teach you about the vegetarian food, which is good. In fact, I'm a vegetarian, but that is not going to fly with Muslims who love to eat chicken and lamb, which of course is not haram. Haram means it is not unclean. It is still clean food. So instead of going to Muslims, trying to teach them our food, let us begin with their food. Their food means the clean food, and that, because reaching Muslims, number one thing is food. If you can eat with them, you can mingle with them, you can be able to share many other things as well. Then we go with answer method. We try to explain people. Let me show you what is Trinity. I can answer that question. Let me share that with you. Well, to tell you the truth, that's not going to work because that's not a biblical method anyway. The biblical method of reaching people is not answer method, but question method. You learn to ask the right questions to people. Another method that we use is our Christian identity. We go to Muslims and tell them, oh, I'm a Christian. And he says, Christian, you eat pork? No, I don't eat pork. You drink wine? No, I don't drink wine. You go to church on Sunday? No, I don't go to. But you said you're a Christian. Well, it will not work because Christianity has a bad negative connotation in the mind of many, many Muslims. But you can go with Adventist identity. When you shake hands with them and say, I'm an Adventist, the first question is going to come, what is that? Now you have the ball is in your court. Sit down somewhere and spend 1 or 2 hours explaining what is Adventist. Then your concept of culture. Well, going to Muslims with our culture, Adventist culture, even though it's a good culture, it's not going to be helpful. Let's go with the Islamic culture. It's good to be able to wear full clothes when you're with Muslims and being respectful and so forth, going with their culture. And then, of course, many of us think as long as I start with the Bible, God is going to take control. But there is no harm in starting with the Quran, because Muslim is going to accept his book first rather than accepting the Bible. Of course, we want to take them to the Bible, but let's start with one verse in the Quran, and then you can lead them into the Bible for the rest of his life. And then what do? We start with explaining them the Son of God. Let me show you how Jesus is the Son of God. It doesn't work very well. How do I teach them about Trinity? How can I explain them about Trinity? There is only one way, and that is, do not start with the Son of God, but start with the Word of God, Jesus. So, as you have seen, almost everything that I've shown you, all the methods that we try to use to go to Muslims, almost none of them is working for us. No wonder we most of us think, I can't do it. That stops us from doing mission. And we often ask ourselves the question, why don't Muslims understand? But my question to us is, why don't we understand that we need to understand these things? Don't expect them to understand. We need to make some adjustments in our strategy and in our way of doing things. The fifth question here I have is, do you know that our usual approaches do not work? See, our methods don't work, neither our approaches do work. There are three approaches, rather two, that I'm going to talk about. What are the approaches? Well, the approaches are the way we do work, the way. And when we are reaching out to anybody, there are three things that we consider. Number one, how do we present our religion that we want them to think about? Number two, what bridges are we going to make so that our presentation of the gospel can be easier? And number three is, all this is done in the mode of friendship. Yeah. So the first method of the Seventh-day Adventist Church is called confrontational approach. In the confrontational approach, you denounce their religion. You downgrade it. You show them your religion is nothing. Our religion is everything. Do you think that's going to be very helpful? No, but that is the method. Most of the time, many people use it. And I'm telling you, it's very, very sad because it doesn't work. Confrontational approach puts the other person down. What bridges do we make? In this approach, in a confrontational approach, making a bridge is not the goal. In fact, they say we don't even care about making bridge. We just have to tell them the truth. Just tell them they're wrong. We have to tell them the truth. They may like it or they may not like it. That's sometimes our way of doing things, but it doesn't work. And then, of course, finally, the friendship. Friendship is not the issue. We don't care about friendship. We just have to tell them whether they are our friends or not, they need to know the truth. Doesn't work. That is the confrontational approach. There is another approach that we have used as a church, and that is called appreciation approach. Appreciate their religion. Instead of putting it down, appreciate their religion. But sometimes we uplift their other religion too much just to be friends with someone. What about the bridge? Well, in this method, a lot of bridges are made. Why? Because if you're going to be nice to other people, if you're going to appreciate other people, there will be bridges, which is good. However, the bridge becomes an end in itself in this approach. What about the friendships? Well, friendships are so important that sometimes in this approach, you don't want to tell them about Jesus because you're thinking, if I tell them about Jesus, they may not be my friends anymore. So we are more interested in friendship than we are interested in sharing the gospel with them. So this approach starts good, but it's not the final and the best approach. So I want to share with you the approach that my center has been working for the last couple of years, and I would like to call it the balanced approach. I believe this is the approach that is not only gonna work, is working already for us, and I want to share with you how does this work. Well, religion. When we present our religion to them, we need to know their religion and use their religion in a positive way. Instead of denouncing their religion, instead of uplifting their religion, we need to know their religion. We need to know about their religion. That's important. Number two, what about the bridges? Well, we need to make bridges. We need to make friendships. We need to make all those connections. But remember, the friendship and the bridge is only a means to present Jesus Christ and present the Bible truth. It's not the end. For me, friendship is not simply important for me to a person. Friendship is good, but in that friendship, I should find a way when their children are sick, instead of saying, should I say, let me pray with you because they might not be my friends anymore? No, I mean, their children are sick. I will tell them, can I pray for you? Can I pray in the name of Jesus? No problem. So that's number 5. And number 6 is, do you know that our focus on building bridge has paralyzed our mission as well? You know, we say, oh, we need to build bridges. We need to build bridges. We're making bridges through ADRA, through schools, through different programs, but we are not. And this is what I call, we need to change our theological, missiological paradigm. Instead of saying building bridges, we in the GCAMR, Global Center for Adventist Muslim Relations, we don't say building bridges, because all the church is building bridges. Everything we're doing in the church is about building bridges. But our question is, how can we cross the bridge? So my center actually exists to help the Seventh-day Adventist Church know how can we cross the bridge with our Muslim friends, instead of just how we build a bridge. Because building a bridge is very fast. Crossing the bridge can take a long time. So you need to know how to cross the bridge with them, not just how to build a bridge with them. Number 7. I'm going to probably stop on number 8, because the 9th one can take a long time to explain, and I don't want to take a lot of your time. So number 7, do you know that we are missing an important key to mission to our Muslim brothers and sisters? What is that important key? And I'd like to share with you here, the most important key to reaching Muslims is the Quran. But you will say, are you telling me that we need to read the Quran? What I'm telling you is, you need to know the Quran, and you don't need to read so much. We can teach you in one session. Let me share with you one verse from the Quran, which will shock you, absolutely shock you. In Quran chapter 5, verse 47, it says this. It says in Quran 5, chapter 5, verse number 47, let the people of the gospel judge by what Allah has revealed therein. Who are the people of the gospel? These are Christians, which means let the people of the gospel, which means let the Christians judge by what Allah has revealed in their book, because in there means the gospel. So let the people of the gospel judge by the gospel. If any fail to judge by the light that God has revealed, what? The light of the gospel, they are no better than those who rebel. So according to this verse, if the Christians do not follow their gospel, which means the New Testament, they have nothing to stand upon. They are rebels. Rebels means infidels. Infidel means unbeliever. An unbeliever is a person who will go to hell. So when does a Christian become an unbeliever? When he does not follow his New Testament, his gospel. Now, most Muslims will tell you that your Bible is corrupted. It's changed. We don't want to believe in this. But the Quran is saying the Christians have nothing to stand upon if they don't follow the gospel, and they must follow the gospel. Who is giving that instruction? The Quran. If the Bible was already corrupted 600 years before the Quran came, wouldn't the Quran actually say the Bible is already corrupted? We don't need it. We've got the Quran. But the Quran does not say that. That is what many Muslims say, and that is what many Christians think. But the Quran never says that. Never does it say that the Bible is corrupted. So isn't that a very powerful thing? That is so powerful. Do you know that we are missing an important key to our mission to our Muslim brothers and sisters? So now you want to find out the last and the most important thing that I'm going to share with you today, number 8. Oh, by the way, these are the books we have. Look at the first one is GCAMR manual. You know, if you need training, when we do the training, we'll give you this manual so that you can be able to have this manual in order to reach out. Number 2, we got the prophets and books. This is a study, 6 studies you can do with Muslims. You can sit with them and do these studies. Number 3, what does the Holy Quran say about the second coming of Jesus? Here is a book about the second coming of Jesus in the Quran. And this one, the first one, what does the Holy Quran say about the Bible? So in this, all these 4 books I've written along with my friends, and these 4 books help you to understand Islam and the Quran. Well, if someone was impatient and wanted to have these books before we come, you can still go to this website, www.baburpublishers.com, and you can download these books from there for a small cost over there. But bottom line, when we do the training, we can also bring it. So last question for tonight. Do you know Ellen G. White, her desire for Muslims? What was her desire for Muslims? It is very interesting that Sister Ellen G. White has only one quotation in all her writings about Muslims. Would you like to know what that quotation is? It's found in Home Missionary, September 1892, paragraph number 4. Ellen G. White writes, Mohammedanism has its converts in many lands, and its advocates deny the divinity of Christ. Shall this faith be propagated, and the advocates of truth fail to manifest intense zeal to overthrow the error and teach men of the pre-existence of the only Savior of the world? So she's saying Islam is all over the world, and this faith is growing and growing. And in fact, today, Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world. She's saying, should this faith keep growing while those who have the truth sit back and do not even do anything about it and do not teach them about the pre-existence of Jesus Christ? Wow. I would like to take this quotation of Ellen White as my motto, as my serious mission, that she's right. How can Islam be the fastest growing religion and we claim we've got the truth? And I hope that from tonight, nothing will stop you from sharing, from, also from mingling, from connecting with your Muslim brothers and sisters. I want to stop here so that if there was any question or any urgent thing that Dr. Ron or anyone wanted to say, I'm here with you.